the problem of crop stubble waste burning became so much severe that the Supreme Court called Delhi as the gas chamber. And as of now, we have a material that can replace thermocol. It has got better cushioning capabilities, better looks, better texture, better surface finish than thermocol, and it is completely biodegradable in just 60 days. Then we can disrupt the packaging industry and at the same time solve the problem of crop stubble waste burning.
Hi friends, welcome to Change Started to our series Change Trails. Most of us are aware of the severe air pollution problem that is plaguing India's national capital, Delhi, and its adjoining regions, especially in the months of November and December. And one of the biggest causes for that problem is the stubble burning or the agricultural waste burning that happens in that region. In addition, there is another problem of plastic and thermocol, the waste which gets generated. So both these are huge, massive problems which is impacting all of us. What if I told you that there is one solution which can address both these problems? So thanks, Arpit. So he is going to tell us more about that solution. So thanks, Arpit, for joining in. So, but before we come to the solution, Arpit, why don't you tell more about yourself, and then we'll come to the solution.
Sure. Thank you so much for hosting me, and wonderful being with you over here. About me, I'm an engineer by education. So I graduated back in 2014 as a mechanical engineer. But one thing that has always been with me ever since the start of my education is that I've always felt that, we belong to the top fortunate 1% of the population to having been, born in such a family, to have access to good education, A, and being born in a family to have been able to afford that education, B. And over time, this thought has always built inside me that, whatever education that I'm getting, it's a lot of variables that went right, and I ended up being on the fortunate side of things. And it has always been inside that I have to give it back to the society. But again, very early on, I also developed this thought process that I have to give it back, not in form of philanthropy, but in form of utilizing this knowledge and solving the tangible problems. So back in engineering, I was part of a research group where we built a agriculture machine that could reduce urea consumption by 40%, increase yield by 25%. Now, since this was an agriculture machine, I got an opportunity to travel to various villages across the country. And during those travels, this thought even got more deeply rooted that, the life that we lead is sort of a dream for millions. And I'm not even exaggerating. So again, after this journey, back in 2015, I went to IIT to do my master's course in design of machine elements. And that's when my perspective became even wider, that how much of an impact can technology really create. And like we were just discussing that, solutions to almost every problem already exist. It's just that, the inertia of us as a society in adopting it. And that's when I decided that, that's where the power of startups and the power of businesses come into picture. The amount of power the businesses, small businesses, startups hold in terms of shaking human behavior, in terms of shaking the inertia of society, it's unparalleled. Never has it happened in history that, individuals have been so powerful, so connected as much as we are today. So, after all these realizations, back in 2015 was also the time when, Delhi was tagged as the world's most polluted city. And back then was, I was still in IIT, and then, with a bunch of my friends, we decided that we have to do something about it instead of keeping to crib about it. And that's when I started my first company by the name Chakra Innovation, wherein we created an equipment that could capture pollutants coming out of diesel engines and convert it into inks and paints. So again, a very challenging concept, nice concept. We were able to scale it up pretty decently. And then came another turning point, that was in 2019, was when, the problem of crop stubble waste burning became so much severe that, the Supreme Court, Delhi is the gas chamber. And Supreme Court went on to say that, if you want to really kill people, kill them in one shot, and that's better than doing what is currently happening every season. And again, this was such a shocking and sort of a moving sort of scenario statement. And I personally I've been in Delhi ever since my childhood, and I again felt the urge that there needs to be a technological intervention wherein we can sustainably solve this problem. There is no need to pressurize, penalize, or put the blame game on certain farmers. So back in 2019 was when I took a break from my previous company and I started traveling. So I started touring the villages of Punjab, Haryana, talked to the villagers, talked to the sarpanch, stayed with them for almost 6 odd months, tried to really understand what they are going through, why are they burning. And long story short, to be honest with you, what I realized was that they know the ill effects of burning much more than we do. We just know the one aspect of crop stubble waste burning, that is air pollution. They know 10 aspects. The first thing that they would say is that air pollution hits their homes first and our cities later. So this is they stay much closer to the fields. So again, the usual statement that they say is कि ये कोई guided missile थोड़ी है जो सीधा दिल्ली में जाके फटेगा, पहले हमारे घर आएगा ना. And very honestly, that is the case. And they also know that it's not just smoke. It's a very toxic smoke. They know the amount of pesticides that they've put in. So it's a chemical carcinogen cocktail sort of a smoke. By the time it reaches Delhi, it's very diluted. It's hardly hydrocarbons and other stuff that is left. So they know like 10 different aspects why it's so hazardous. They know that, it would destroy the organic content in soil. They know that it would destroy the ecology. So as they call in Punjabi, mittar kide, that is basically friendly pest. They know everything about it. But still they'll choose to burn, the reason being that they don't have time. So again, this was a very deeply rooted, multi-dimensional sort of a problem. Back in 2010, Government of India came up with a regulation that you can only plant rice 2 weeks before monsoon because the water table was depleting. So in order to save water, we came up with a regulation to postpone the sowing of rice. What it resulted in was postponing of harvest of rice. But the sowing of wheat cannot be postponed. So the time margin between harvest of rice and sowing of wheat got squeezed. Now it's just like 5-6 days odd left. So you cannot do anything else. In such a short margin, the only thing that they have left to clear off their fields is to put it on fire. And it still takes like 3 days. So first day they have to, sun dry it. Second day they have to put it on fire. Third day they have to wait for the embers to cool off before they can do anything else. So these were, very important learning. And, I was surprised that nobody's talking about the problems in such depth. Like I had no clue that, the problem is such multidimensional, and obviously there, even when I was there, I could not find an alternative. So again, then we decided, then I tried to understand that how are people in the West tackling with this problem? How are countries like Europe or US trying to tackle this problem? And the solution was very simple. They just collect the waste, compress it into bales, transport it, stock it, and utilize it later. Very simple, but why isn't it being executed? The bottom line was that there is not enough demand for these bales. So we were able to, find a few pockets where there were these baling machines involved, where they were collecting this crop stubble waste, compressing it and storing it. But there is not enough demand. Even as of now, whatever limited few numbers of baler people are there, they are utilizing it to provide it in furnaces, where again it is burned. But since it has got lower calorific value, higher moisture, they don't get a fair price. So the bottom line that we understood was that, if we are able to give them a fair price, these people by themselves would make sure that this waste is collected and stocked instead of burned. And again, we got a very strong validation in a district known as a Pewa district, which is on the border of Punjab and Haryana, where there is absolute zero crop stubble waste burning. The reason that there is a very evolved paper mill over there that is utilizing crop stubble waste to create something known as kraft paper, which is basically the raw material for cardboard. And so again, there is this demand, and then there is no crop stubble waste burning. So there came the first learning. And then we decided, how can we scale up this demand? How can we create more products that have got so much demand that it can consume the entirety of this waste? And obviously, then again, we have this challenge against plastic and thermocol. And that's when, we decided to understand, can we really create packaging out of it? Can we really eliminate plastic and thermocol out of the market? again, there was this huge learning cycle that had to come through. We had to go through this R&D cycle. It took almost just 2 years to crack the R&D process to create a material that could be used as a packaging material. But luckily, or by whatever means, we were able to crack that. And as of now, we have a material that can, replace thermocol. It has got better cushioning capabilities, better looks, better texture, better surface finish than thermocol. And it is completely biodegradable in just 60 days. There are no resin, no color, no binder, nothing chemical involved in the entire process. Completely biological process. Whatever is generated, you can just dump it in your kitchen garden and it would just turn into compost in 60 days. So right now we stand at a point where we feel that, we can disrupt the packaging industry and at the same time solve the problem of crop stubble waste burning.
Cool. So Dharaksh has come out with a solution which can replace the normal thermocol packaging, is what I understand, right? So do you have a sample with you which you can show?
Absolutely. Okay. So I'll try to keep it in front of my face. So for example, this is an electric toothbrush and this is the packaging that we made and it fits perfectly in there. And this can now be transported as it is, and it has got better cushioning capabilities than the conventional thermocol, and it is completely biodegradable. So for example, you were to order this equipment, once it gets delivered, all you have to do is just break it into pieces and toss it in your kitchen garden, and within 60 days you'll have a natural compost in your kitchen garden or in your pots.
Absolutely great. But before that, I just wanted to understand, so when we speak about agricultural waste, so there is also a solution which exists, which has been there from quite some time, is the biofuel, which again comes from the agricultural waste, right? So why did you go in for this particular solution, which is kind of replacement for thermocol, instead of, you could have gone for something else as well? So what made you pick this solution?
Right. So again, in biofuel, there are two categories. First is obviously the biomass. That is, you take this material, convert it into briquettes and, burn it in furnaces. And second is if you could create a bio-CNG out of it. So that was the first thing, we evaluated that, what if we could do this and that. And so the problem with converting into briquettes and in that form is firstly that, paddy straw waste is sort of worst of the worst sort of a thing. So, it has got very low calorific value, very high silica content. It does not want to burn well. It wants to burn in a very smoky fashion. So again, it has got very high moisture content and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of challenges that even if you were to try to convert into briquettes, you would get very low calorific value. So again, when you talk about biomass fuels, the only thing of concern is calorific value. And that's where, other things that have got oil in them make a lot more sense. Like, for example, leftover from sunflower industry and other things that have basically oil content in them, that they make far better biofuels. So again, this material has got no oil content, very high moisture and so on. So that's why currently nobody's creating briquettes out of it. It does not really make sense. And secondly was also the concept of bio-CNG, which currently even the government is trying to promote at a very large scale, big time. But when we evaluated the finances and the economic aspect of bio-CNG, it did not make sense. So basically, even if you were to put a plant today, it won't be able to break even in like next 10 to 12 years. You might be able to run the operational expenditure or OPEX as we call in finances, but you will not be able to recover the CAPEX. And that's where we feel it's not a scalable model. Any scalable model is a model that is highly profitable. So that's where, we felt that, in order to tackle capitalism, we have to use the tools created by capitalism. You have to create a very profitable business model for it to scale very rapidly, and you have to engineer it in such a way that it is sustainable. That's the only way to fight the problems that has been created by capitalism. So again, because of those reasons, we decided that, we will not go the conventional way, solve one problem and create another. So had we gone that way, and, even if we would have scaled, we would have probably created another form of pollution by ash or silica or God knows what. So we were very clear that, we want to be end-to-end sustainable. We don't want to put it on fire. We don't want to create any form of smoke, be it lesser smoke. I don't want to create any smoke at all, or any residue in that matter. So that was a vision statement or a calling that led us to this more difficult path, but a more rewarding path.
So one thing, what is Briquette? When you say
okay, so briquettes is nothing but a compacted form. So basically, when you take this material and you compress it under very high pressure, so it creates these cylindrical pellets, much like capsules, but larger capsules. So that is basically briquettes. Once anything is converted into briquettes, it becomes easier to store. Its storage becomes much more easier. And currently, a lot of companies are moving away from diesel and other fired furnaces to briquettes or biomass fired furnaces, and that's why their demand is picking up. And currently, to be honest, in the market, sunflower briquettes are in short supply. So even if you want to do that, you won't even find a supplier, because the entire market is moving towards biomass based fuels right now. But again, paddy straw waste does not fit in there, because it is not meant to be used as a fuel.
So did you got an opportunity to see this solution, this plastic alternative or thermocol alternative somewhere, and then you decided that let me start this? Or was it your concept or your idea to come out with this special solution?
It was sort of a hybrid sort of a solution, to be honest. We at first we didn't know that any such thing existed, but when we tried to figure out how the world is doing alternatives of packaging, and once we had decided that we want to do packaging and we tried to Google it up, we found a few players in West, basically in Europe and US, who were trying to do this from agriculture waste, but again they are doing from hemp waste. Now, hemp is something that is very nutritious as a source. And again, paddy straw waste is devoid of all sorts of nutrition. So again, the R&D had to be done from scratch. And also, since we do not have a hemp problem in India, it did not make sense to just copy paste the solution from the West. So we had to redevelop everything from scratch. But if you were to ask that, were we aware? Yes, we were aware. So we had a sort of validation that this can be done. It might be very tough, it might take time, but this can be solved.
Wonderful. So that's when Dharaksha started. So when did you started your company Dharaksha? 2000.
Right. So we formally registered like 2019 end, but 2020 end. 2019 was when we were just trying to find the answers. We registered 2020 end, so it's almost been more than a year since we are formally registered, and we knew that the solution can be made and things can be solved.
Wonderful. I mean, this is a fantastic solution, Arpit. I'm sure there should be a lot of companies who should come to you and catch hold of this wonderful alternative which you have created. So having said that, I mean, this solution which you have come out is an engineering driven solution, right? So was it you who was driving it, or you got some experts from the field and started it together with them?
So actually, it's a combination of engineering and biotechnology, and this is where things got even tougher, because there was a phase where I had to unlearn engineering and relearn biotechnology. So I had to go to the student phase and do it in a tougher fashion, because I was not enrolled in any university per se. I was doing it in collaboration with the research laboratory. Later on, we were fortunate enough to onboard some very good team members. So we have our chief scientist Sharad, who's a very well-known mycologist in the country. We have Priya, who is a BSc MSc in plant biotechnology. Then we've got support from Regional Center for Biotechnology, that's India's best biotechnology research institute. So as things moved, we were very fortunate to get good people on board. We were able to onboard very good stakeholders and very good researchers, and that's when things really started to accelerate. But yeah, starting was very lonely sort of a journey, if I should put it that way, because it was very difficult to explain people the image or vision that we had in our head. But once things start taking shape, it becomes relatively easier to onboard people.
Absolutely. And this is just one of the challenges, right? I mean, finding the right people. But the biggest challenge, I mean, I'm just assuming, would be because you have two parts, right? One is sourcing of the material, or from where do you get those material, whom do you talk to, from where do you source, and then make this product and then sell it to the market, find the people who are ready to buy the product. So how are you dealing with this flow?
Oh yes, absolutely. So again, for the sourcing part, we have been able to onboard a few aggregators. So basically, these are people who own these baler machines, and they will, grow to the fields, talk to the farmers, convince them, collect this material, stock it for the year-round supply. Now we have been able to, onboard like 5 or 6 odd aggregators, and in the last month alone, like last season, we collected over 150 tons of crop stubble waste from over 75 acres that would have been put to fire. And this is the material that would just be used for the R&D process. We have not even started production yet, and this is the sort of impact that we can create, and this is the thing that helps us keep going, even when we face adversities. Is the top line image, the level of impact that we can create. And on the sales side, on the material that we are making, we are very excited about the scale at which companies are operating. So we went to a company's manufacturing unit that's a very large FMCG company. Again, I'm not allowed to take the name, but they are into space of making fans and other electrical goods. And I was amazed to see the scale that they had, and they have like 7 manufacturing units. We went to one of them that is not even their largest, and they had this stocking of thermocol molds that stretched for almost 600 meters down the aisle, almost half a kilometer, stacked all the way till 20 feet. And my first question was that this is the stocking for almost a month, and he said, no, this is the stocking for just 2 days. We don't stock for. And that's when all the numbers that we've been reading about, that let's say packaging is a $72 billion industry, this $1 million, that $1 million, they start to ring a bell once you see those numbers take shape in front of you. And once you see that that's the amount of thermocol that you would be replacing every 2 days, that's what gives us the real kick, that this is the amount of thermocol that we would be replacing from going into landfill, from going into rivers, from going into oceans, and at the same time, same amount of crop stubble waste prevented from being put on fire. So to be honest, this industry is humongous. This industry is absolutely humongous. The packaging industry has the capacity, has the strength, has the power to solve for everyone the problem of crop stubble waste burning in India.
Absolutely, and all the best to you in your journey. I'm sure you will make a huge difference, and it's a huge problem which we are dealing, and I'm sure you are going to crack it. So my next question, Arpit, would be like upstream. So you are dealing with farmers or aggregators, as you say. So what kind of cost you have to incur? So those are the costs. And on the downstream, when you're selling it off, so the companies, the businesses would be making a comparison, right? So is this solution, the solution of the packaging alternative which you are giving, is it affordable? Is it cost effective? So how you are dealing with the cost aspects?
All right. So actually, so again, aggregators collect from farmers for free. So that is the basic thing that we have while onboarding any aggregator, that they don't have to charge farmers. We pay the aggregator for all their costs incurred, like the diesel costs, the loan on the baling machine, the stocking cost, manpower cost, etc. So all in all, it costs us approximately 2,800 to 3,000 rupees a ton. That's the landing cost that we incur. But again, once we are selling to the corporates, it's a very complicated process, the biotechnology process that we are working with. So again, our material as of today is like 20-25% costlier than thermocol. But again, it's not like 10 times costlier. It's very much affordable. Now, given the value that it provides, it's to be honest, I would call it very cheap material. So I'll just give you an example. So for example, if you are buying a television, the packaging in it would hardly be like $12. My packaging would be like $14. That is it. So if a customer is making a conscious choice and putting it forward to the companies have got no hindrance in adopting to such a solution. It's just that people have to be really aware, and people have to demand from the company that we want this sort of a packaging. And very soon we will see that all sorts of alternative packaging, the conventional packaging, would be wiped out of the market if the consumer wants a conscious choice over there. And that's why we believe that, again, coming to the same point, that we are so connected that if this story goes out well beyond, that's a level of impact that the stories can create.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's a problem which all of us, and see, businesses also have to make this transition, right? I mean, they are also under pressure from their stakeholders to make this transition. But good thing for you is that you are dealing with the businesses and not directly with the end consumer. Like few days back, I got a refrigerator and it comes with a load of plastic. So a refrigerator costing to 20,000 rupees for the thermocol which we got. I mean, for them, it would be like peanuts. So if they can replace that thermocol with your solution, it would be wonderful. So,
Exactly.
So all the best for that. So Arpit, my next question is like, for your product, how much this bio waste do you need to make like X kg of the alternative?
All right. So again, it's almost one-to-one conversion. So this is one thing that I'm always excited to talk about. We have absolutely zero waste generation. There is absolutely no byproduct in our entire manufacturing process. So much so that we are in the process of removing all our dustbins. We don't really need dustbins. There is no waste generation. The crop stubble waste comes in, and on the other end is the material coming out. There are obviously a few additives that we require, but on a kg to kg basis, for every 1 ton of crop stubble waste consumed, there would almost be with additives included, there would almost be like 0.8 tons of material that would be generated. So again, we don't even utilize water that we pollute, or we have any effluents or any of that sorts. There's nothing, even if there is a lot that has gone bad, there is a rejection in the pieces, we can just utilize it as raw material for the next lot. All we need to do is just shred the material and provide it as feedstock for the next lot. So there is no wastage per se or efficiency in the conventional methodologies or in the conventional definitions that applies to us.
Oh, cool. So that is like, if 1 kg of waste is there, then you can create 1 kg of your material, packaging material, right?
Actually, more than that, because we add a few more raw materials. So, if there are 1 kg of all raw materials is equal to 1 kg of all finished product.
Cool. So my next question is like, how much, I mean, do you pay anything to the farmers to get that 1 kg or 1 ton of waste?
Oh, not as of now. So that is there in the plans as we expand and we have better operations. Currently, we are too small in operations to be in a position to pay farmers or be any meaningful impact to them. But we do pay the aggregators. So in a way, we make sure that the collection happens free of cost. Right now, what happens is that farmers have to pay aggregators. Almost 10,000 rupees an acre. So if you see it that way, we are saving them 10,000 rupees an acre for the material to be collected by balers.
Right. Why I was asking is like, there are certain solutions which are coming in the market, right? I mean, especially in last few years, like seeders machine, there are machine which cut the waste, and then there is some bioenzyme which is put in the crop so that it bio decompose, right? So these are also alternatives which are available in the market. So if farmers are not getting anything in return, they might as well go in for some other solution, or they might just go and burn it. So what is that advantage for the farmers?
So see, the biggest advantage is that so burning is out of the question. If they have any solution available, they will choose it over burning. Reason being, obviously it impacts their life, and secondly, it impacts their soil quality. Right. As far as bioenzymes are concerned, now this is a sort of debatable concept. So again, in my experience, what I've seen is that this bioenzyme takes at least 25 to 30 days to work, and farmers in Punjab, Haryana don't have that sort of time. I even came across an article in Hindustan Times which stated that people who adopted for this bioenzyme ended up burning the material because they couldn't wait for so much. And all the people who are adopting for this season are not the same as people who adopted for the last season. So attrition rate is as high as 80%. So people who adopted for bioenzymes last season, 80% of them chose not to adopt bioenzymes in this season. Now, this is very alarming. Now, obviously, a lot of people have agenda to show that government is doing something and so on and so forth. So we see a lot of misplaced statements coming through, but again, whatever it is would come clear in next few years. But nonetheless, if the solution exists, we are very excited because the problem is so huge that not a single technological innovation can solve it. More the fight is, better it is for the problem to be solved.
I agree. I mean, it's such a massive problem we are dealing with that even if there are hundreds of solutions in the market, still you have your own place, right? So, so all the
Exactly.
best for that. So, what is the response like from your?
People are super excited. People are super excited, and there are a lot of clients who are waiting for like 6 odd months for us to really set up this manufacturing unit and start delivering. So hopefully in next few months you would see this material really touch the customers. What I mean by touch the customers, if you order something online, there is a very high likelihood that it would come in our packaging.
Okay, cool. So is it like you have put up a big machine or something like that? Was it a capital intensive business?
Very capital intensive, and that's where doing business in India becomes tough, because most of the investors in India are still very comfortable with the software model or software as a service model, and it was very difficult to raise that sort of capital. But again, we were fortunate enough to get the right backing at the right time. And yeah, hopefully going forward, you should be able to walk the talk. So now is the time to walk the talk. There's been a lot of rosy pictures and a lot of conversation that has been happening. But 2022 is going to be the year of execution.
Cool. So how do you see the future? I mean, I'm sure it is just a starting. So are there any specific plans which you have thought about for next coming few years?
Oh, absolutely. So again, 2022 is going to be very crucial for us to, prove the market and start capturing the market. In the next few years, we want to go on a distributed manufacturing model. So what it means is we would be having multiple manufacturing units closer to the client base. So like, for example, there is a concentrated manufacturing unit in Baddi, Noida, etc. So we would be having our manufacturing units closer to these locations, and we would be sourcing locally, producing this material, providing to these corporates. And that's when the scale really starts to kick in, that we would be using a lot of material and eliminating a lot of thermocol. Going forward, like 3 years down the line, we have a vision of launching furniture boards. So basically, with this technology also, we can create very hard material also, so hard that it could replace the furniture boards. So literally your doors, your furniture could be made out of this material. And now imagine a situation where you are preventing deforestation from happening because all your wood needs are met by agriculture waste itself. And at the same time, you are preventing that much amount of crops or waste being burned. So that is where I feel the real disruption would happen. And that's where I feel that, we would be touching everyone in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, because wood is something that everybody consumes. And that is also the time where we feel that, would be a time when we would not see any more crop waste burning. So we have like a 5-year vision where we want to eliminate 25% of crop waste burning, and next and 3 years post that is 8 years from now, we want to do a 90% reduction in crop waste burning.
Cool. So you're based out of Delhi. So is it plans? Are the plans to expand to other parts of the country and even globally, if possible?
Oh yes, absolutely. So again, 2022 is going to be our focus area for one plant, just that is going to be our. But 2023 onwards, we would be expanding to different cities, pan India level, and 2026 onwards is when we plan to go on different locations internationally.
Cool.
But again,
yeah, obviously, finger crossed, and all the best, and our wishes to you to scale this to amazing heights. So you can tell us about the reason why you gave this name Dharaksh. As you mentioned, but just explain that.
So yeah, we call it Dharaksha Ecosolutions. So Dhara in Hindi means earth and Raksha means saving. So the company literally translates to saving the earth from pollution. So again, I have a knack for Hindi and Sanskrit names ever since. Again, it has to have certain meaning. And after a lot of thought, this name came through. That this really defines the vision of the company in just one word. That what do we stand for? We stand for saving the planet. What do we do is something that is a function of time. Today we are doing something that is eliminating crop waste burning, that is eliminating thermocol. 5 years down the line, we would be doing furniture panels. 10 years down the line, you would be doing even more aggressive or even more rewarding or even more impactful. But the vision always will be saving the planet. We would always be moving towards a direction that would be helping the planet. And we would always be building products that would be scalable and impactful always. So that has always been the yeah. So again, it had to be a Hindi name. So Dharaksha is something that we zeroed down upon.
Beautiful name, and it probably resonates with a lot of us. I'm not sure whether how people will react globally and maybe in other parts of the country, but it's a very beautiful name. So nice. So my final question, Arpit, is like you spoke about saving the planet. How do you personally save the planet? What does environment and nature mean to you personally?
So again, I can go on that for very long, but yeah, I'll just try to do a few points. So again, there is this one thing that I've always believed is say what you believe and do what you say. So if there is a disconnect between these two, there is no meaning of doing anything in life. So it doesn't make sense if I talk about environmentalism, but I end up doing things that harm the environment. So again, I take steps as much as possible. So for commute, I've shifted to electrical mobility for like past 3 years. So 3 years back, there was this electric sports bike company that launched by the name Revolt, and I was the first buyer of it, almost the first buyer, the first 10 bikes that were delivered, one of those. So I always commute by electrical mobility. I'm always working towards minimizing the waste. So again, my dad is even more enthusiastic than I am. He's evolving ever since, and for past 2 years we have not disposed a single piece of plastic. So whatever ration comes through, we do a segregation between biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Whatever plastic is there, we store it and we keep storing it. And when it becomes 5 kg, we send it to a recycler. And to be honest, it takes almost 8 to 10 months for it to become 5 kgs. So, once you see the volumetric aspect of it, it's huge. But once you start, rolling it, whatever plastic wrapper comes in, we just roll it and we have a huge container and we put rolls side by side. That container takes almost 8 months to 10 months to fill up. And that's when it becomes 5 kgs. Now 5 kg sounds very small, and once you send it to recycle, it's all converted into pellets, and then it can be made into a whole lot of things. Similarly, we are also working at home to have a biocomposter at home, wherein whatever food waste etc. is generated, that can be converted into compost. So we also plan that by end of 2022 we should have no dustbin at home. Everything should be segregated, reused, reutilized, either turned into compost or sent to a recycler.
Brilliant, Arpit. I mean, kudos to you and your family as well to following all these things for a great future. I mean, if people like us are there in the society, I'm sure we have a very sustainable future ahead of us. So great talking to you, Arpit. Wonderful to have this chat and to know about your product. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wonderful talking.